It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Since our founding, we've been revolutionizing hair removal with cutting-edge technology and a commitment to empowerment. The U-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. Experience the future of hair removal today at ulike.com, because at U-Like, beauty is about looking and feeling good. That's ulike.com. U-Like. With Ease US, make studio-quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects, featuring 468 natural AI voices. Customize the volume, mood, and pauses to perfectly match your content. Plus, capture high-quality videos with no watermark. Record your screen, webcam, and voice, and save them instantly to your computer. Never been easier to create professional-grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US.
Just use AirPace.
Pete Sousa Show, presented to you by Slovacics. Of course, our good friends at Crawford Austin Property, Sikora Family Ford, D1 Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers. It is great to be here with you today. A lot to recap. Of course, we got the NFL draft. Talk a little bit about the NBA playoffs, Bill Belichick in like a super awkward interview that I feel like, it's just I would like to talk about it, right? I mean, and we got to talk about what's going on with Shadur, his slide. Everybody's got a theory on it. Of course, I have mine. I've been talking about it all weekend, but now I get to share it with you. And the Cowboys draft, an opportunity to look at that a little bit. And I want to see the unsigned or the undrafted free agents from Baylor who were drafted. I think that's kind of interesting because we talked last week about my buddy Garmin Randolph, and he did sign. sooner than some of the other Baylor Bears that Scotty thought were so much better than Garmin. So we'll get into that. So the Shadur thing is like super interesting, right? I think the way that it was covered was very interesting. A lot of the time I was working, and then on Saturday I was just kind of chilling watching it. But Friday night I was working, but as I was calling the softball game, I was certainly staying like, yeah, okay, I'm going to find out that he's going to get drafted in the second round. Like, I'm waiting, like, nothing. Like, he was, I thought maybe the Raiders might take him. No. Obviously, Cleveland passed on him twice. And then the free fall just started. And when you started to identify with, okay, and when I say you, like me and probably all of us, he's not going to get taken like in the second round or the third round. And then it was like, okay, at that point I was like, I really went through a moment where I was like, he's going to get drafted, right? And that's not because I thought like there was any kind of collusion or chicanery behind the scenes, but I did believe that, okay, I guess our assessment of him was wrong. And when I say our, I mean like truthfully, being honest, I'm an extension of the great ones. And what I mean by that is I am not a great one, but I will, right, like talk to McShay and listen to what he has to say. I listen to Mel Kiper. If there's ever a coach who goes on the record about the breakdown of an athlete, like I take that in. That's who I listen to. That's why I say I'm an extension. I'm not going to pretend like I watch a lot of film or I have this amazing eye for quarterbacks. I've always found that sort of interesting. Like, I don't know, I've never been able to accept like when Colin Cowherd's like, oh, he's got a great release. Or I like, he releases the ball just at the perfect point. And he may be watching film. He may have that like experience and stuff, but like, that's not for me to say. And to be fair, we talked about it a couple weeks ago right here with McShay and Mensch. Like I did that for a little bit with McShay and Mensch, but I'm not. And I call games, but I just don't think like sometimes I'll see a guy I'm like he's awesome, but I leave it to those guys. Those guys all had him at the top of the draft. Scotty, do you remember anybody? And this is kind of putting you on the spot. Off the top of your head, was anybody while Shadur was falling? Any draft gurus were like, "Oh, I told you he was going to." No, there wasn't one person, right? Everybody had him. Yeah.
Yeah, I think even cynics thought he was like a late second round pick.
Yeah.
Like I don't remember anybody saying he's a fifth round pick.
So
I don't remember anybody saying he's worse than Tyler Shuck and Dylan Gabriel.
No, so we all got it wrong, right? In one way or another, we all got it wrong. And when he starts to drop, you start to see like this is when I started to think, okay, I can identify with why he's fallen. And I was able to identify with it because I thought to myself, this is a situation where it's not like as radioactive. It's interesting because I don't want anybody to get confused here about what I mean. It's not like Colin Kaepernick in a sense where like the racial side to it. But it is the Colin Kaepernick, and it is like the Tim Tebow thing when Tim Tebow commanded so much media attention wherever he went. Colin Kaepernick, a lot of coaches, at least the ones that went on the record, you could say there's all kinds of other stuff going on there. But, like, to have him in camp as a backup, it's like, who needs the trouble?
Yeah, no, I think the Tebow comp here is much better than others I've heard because I've heard people try to say character issues.
With Shadur, there's no character issues.
That's just garbage. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There
aren't any character issues.
Yeah, character issues to me implies you're doing something off the field that's immoral or sketchy, illegal.
Yeah.
Like, there's none of that with him. Like, I think he's a good person, like, seriously. Now, the stories about, like, walking into an interview with his entourage and not being prepared and wearing so much cologne that they've got to walk out of the room and refusing to meet with certain teams, like, that's a bad look. That's unwise is probably how I would say that.
Yeah.
But it's not a character flaw. So, like, I do struggle with, Pete, how does a guy like Johnny Manziel, who everyone knew didn't watch film and was a drunk, let alone other things that now we know were going on in the background of his life, right? And I'm thankful he's sober and seems to have gotten well. But, like, he still went in round one. So don't talk to me about character issues dropping 5th. Like, that's crazy to me.
Well,
and it's crazy to me that New Orleans would think Tyler Shuck and Pittsburgh would think Will Howard are going to be better NFL quarterbacks than Shedeur. Because regardless of how you think about the off-the-field stuff, at the end of the day, if you're an NFL team, your job is to
Wasn't
take –
Shedeur picked before Will Howard? He was.
Yes, but Pittsburgh did not pick a quarterback until Will Howard.
Okay.
And Pittsburgh was a team that folks thought would take it. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying they needed a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And I would think, especially once you got to round 3, that Pittsburgh would go, it's round 3.
Yeah.
Shedeur is clearly a borderline starting, at worst, a borderline starter in the NFL. At best, maybe a good starter in the NFL. And they chose not to take him. They chose to take Will Howard.
Yeah.
So that's I don't. It is bizarre.
Okay, so I have a comparison, right? And I gleaned this year doing like calling basketball. And there was a time when I don't exactly want to say what team, but there was a team I was covering this year. I'd done a couple of their games, and they had a guy on their team that was like a social media star, but it really wasn't like panning out. So far, wasn't really playing much.
So he wanted to be an influencer, but wasn't.
Well, he kind of is, but just like wasn't like he's not playing. You have an influencer on your team who's not commanding any minutes.
Okay.
And so it's kind of weird because you go on trips and you know, when you land in a city, like there's other people there that kind of work for this guy that are capturing video and whatever. It's just kind of a weird thing. And again, like, is the end justifying the means? Like the weird vibe around the team, like this person's playing 5-6 minutes a night, 10 minutes, like maybe this was a bad idea, right? Like that's the vibe you got from maybe around the program. Well, the same thing now with Shedeur Sanders. Like, okay, we don't want him to start right now, right? But we do have, you know.
You know what's crazy is now that he's with the Browns, he might start right away.
Well, he might, and I want to get to that in a second. But I think when you have him in your camp, you know, if he's not fighting for the job, or you don't think he's got the elite level talent, right, that certain people had, obviously, like folks like that we trusted, had him locked in going like top 5 or top 15 or first round at one time or another. If you don't think he's that guy, then as a backup, it's just not worth the trouble.
Right.
And I believe that's what happened. And I think it's not like they're worried he's going to get arrested or anything like that, or they think he's a bad guy.
Right.
I really believe, and it's not his fault per se. Like, yeah, sure, like your own social media team and all that stuff.
It's a lot his fault.
Sure. Well, maybe you could tone it down. But either way, wherever he goes now, that's going to be a huge story. Cleveland. Right. I mean, so that'll be a big story. Hopefully it won't be as big, and it is Cleveland, but like it's not like the Jets took him, where like at every practice there'd be like, you know, 100 media members.
By the way, Jets another team that I think should have taken him.
Yeah, sure, but so hopefully Cleveland in the situation where it is, like being like Midwestern and a little bit softer from like as far as like having a real sharp tongue media wise, okay, like maybe that's a good fit for him. But my hope for him is that like he tones down like some of that stuff on his end, because I don't think that creates an environment where he can be. I just think anything that doesn't get in the way, right? Because your teammates might say. Because I heard this morning on First Take. Of course, I was watching it as I was leaving, like about an hour ago. Who's the dude on there from the lineman from the? He went to Boston College. Was a center for the Patriots. Come on, what's his name? He's on First Take. He played for the Patriots. Anyways, I'll figure out who he is.
I know all the defensive players from the Patriots who've been on that.
Well,
show.
who are they?
Like Rodney Harrison or or Teddy Bruschi's.
This
been
is
on there
good for
before.
you because you don't watch First Take, so good for you.
I don't.
So, anyways, they said, hey, like you were top 2. This guy's a first-round pick. I can't believe I forget who it is. So you're a first-round pick. You know, what would you be like? How would you approach Shedeur? And he's like, I'll be watching everything he does, like how he walks into the locker room, how he handles himself. You know, who does he eat with? How does he eat? Like everything. Like there's going to be a lot of attention in that locker room on him, which I don't think I think he'll be fine with that. But I think that what coaches and stuff don't love is all the media attention.
Well, and that's why I thought right up front your Tebow comparison was apt.
Yeah.
Like Tim Tebow, I think, and this is not everybody's opinion. I think Tim Tebow was plenty good.
Damian Woody.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I think Tim Tebow was plenty good enough to be a backup longer in the NFL than he was. But he was a media circus everywhere he went. And he's like A++ character guy, right? Like off the field, right? But that you kind of want your backup quarterback to be anonymous in some ways.
Totally.
That's why Case Keenum is still in the NFL.
Yeah.
That's why Chase Daniel played for so long in the NFL.
Because the backup quarterback, if stuff starts to go sideways, is always the most popular guy in the city.
Right.
And so
you don't want him running his mouth.
No, and you don't. Yeah. You almost don't want him to be that attractive.
So I think with Shedeur, to your point about walking, eating, all this, if this didn't humble him pretty significantly, and I'm not saying he's got to be not himself, but if this didn't take him down a peg, you got to walk into a locker room and command men, and those NFL veterans don't put up with the extra stuff.
No.
They won't. They won't. He will lose that locker room so quickly if he walks in with any kind of entitlement.
Yeah.
That's why I know we might get to it in a minute, but I really appreciated what Reese Davis said about the situation of like, nobody thought these were going to be the cards, but these are the cards. Now, how do you play them?
How do you play them?
You have to just respond.
Yeah.
You know.
So one thing I did want to so on what you're saying, and then we'll get into the coverage and your boy Mel Kiper.
My boy.
So the Browns, they got 5 quarterbacks. That's the first thing. I mean, I remember right away. I was like, when I saw he got drafted, I was like, let me look up for see who we got here, and I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, that's right. I forgot they drafted Dylan Gabriel. Now you have Watson in the mix, but I keep hearing more and more he'll be cut. We'll find out, right?
It's a lot of money.
Yeah. So he's going to have a chance to compete and could end up starting this year, and a good thing for at some point, really. And
I think what's toxic is because it's the Cleveland Browns. There's like 3 of them that will probably start this year.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. This is a different because you and I were on Saturday. We saw Bear the Truth. Christy came out. It was great. Scotty and I, we were all hanging. We had a blast. But went over to Southern Roots for a little while. But so we were talking about, and Scotty and I were very upfront, and so was Bear the Truth. Was like, going to Cleveland. That's just like you have trauma almost, like because of all they've had so many. I mean, the number 40 different starting quarterbacks.
You've seen that guy with the jacket that has all the names on it, right?
Yeah, with all the quarterbacks. Yeah. But it's a different environment there. Like, I knew this. Kevin Stefanski, obviously the head coach. Bill Musgrave, the quarterback's coach. There's a connection with Dion there too, and then Tommy Reese, their OC, who's one of like the hottest young OC, all quarterback guys.
Yeah.
Right. And Musgrave played with Dion in San Francisco when they won the Super Bowl, so they're kind of tight. So maybe there's a good vibe deal there. But there's a lot for Shedeur to learn now. Not only about what's happened in the past, but he's going to be learning from some of the best quarterback whisperers out there in Cleveland. So the opportunity is all there for him. My like sticker shock, like we mentioned on Saturday, has kind of been relieved, right? Like, oh, the Browns, they suck. So many quarterbacks. I think of Chris Palmer drafting Tim Couch in that 1999 year and being like, oh my God, it was so bad, So we'll see.
I almost wish for him, once he fell past the second round, I was like, he needs to be a backup. I wish a good franchise had taken him. There's part of me that wishes the Cowboys had done it because that's my team, and he clearly wouldn't be the starter.
But
like
that's why
any strong franchise, man, like San Francisco, could he go back up Brock Purdy?
That's why he didn't get drafted there, because at that point,
I know.
Is it worth the trouble?
I know.
But
I think that would have been the best thing for him.
Are we going to bring in Shedeur Sanders to play behind what's his face? The starter for San Francisco.
Purdy.
Brock Purdy, yeah.
Do you know who they did draft?
Who?
Curtis Rourke from Indiana.
Oh, yeah, you told me that, yeah.
He'll be their starter by next year.
Yeah, but they don't need him, like, playing behind Brock Purdy, right?
No, I know. I'm just saying, I think
that
would have been the best thing for Shedeur.
Yeah.
Would be to play behind a vet in a good organization.
Yeah.
Now he's in an organization where one of two things is going to happen. He's either going to be the starter way too quickly for the Browns, and I'm scared he's going to struggle.
Yeah.
Maybe he proves us all wrong, but we've been saying that about quarterbacks in Cleveland for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Or he's going to be behind Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
God forbid Dylan Gabriel outplays him in camp. Can you imagine the stories? if Shadur's behind Dylan Gabriel on the depth chart, like, I just think it's going to be bad. Like, no matter how it goes, I'm really.
That's an interesting, like, canvas there you're working with, because that is a little scary, like, to think that the regular season would start and what, like, a Shadur on the practice squad.
Right. Yeah, like, let's say they go into week 1. This is not unfeasible, by the way. Let's say they start Joe Flacco because that's safe. They keep Kenny Pickett because I said in a tweet, you've got 2 vets who've proven something in the NFL and 2 rookies and Kenny Pickett, which means they're going to keep Kenny Pickett because it's the Cleveland Browns. And let's say their third quarterback's Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah.
Can you, like, you're talking about circus. Can you imagine what Deion Sanders is going to say to the media in that
He won't
case?
say anything.
Yes, he will.
No, he won't. I believe he's gonna. This is where Deion's smarts play in, and if they learned anything from this past weekend, it's kind of like, all right, maybe some of it's a little much. I'm telling you, because if it wasn't so much, you know, I think Shadur would have gotten drafted higher. Like, there is a little bit. Let me ask you, do you think, you know, when something goes wrong, you really do, if you're going to be a winner in life, or at least like when I'm striving to be a winner, which is all the time, but you have to, when something bad happens, you have to take a look and say, what did I do to create this situation? You have to do that. Otherwise, you're never going to learn.
Totally.
And you're not going to improve. What could Deion, or not Deion, sorry, what could Shadur learn from? I mean, was it all out of his control, or was there stuff that he controlled that he screwed up?
I think the more reports come out, it's evident it was a lot of his control.
Yeah.
That I said this to you a couple weeks ago. If my process of you said you don't do this, I do this. I try to evaluate quarterbacks in college, and my process is it's 2 thoughts. It's very simple. Do you have off the charts gifts that others don't have, Patrick Mahomes, or did you win a lot in college? Because to me, if you didn't win and you're not off the charts, I don't think you're suddenly going to start winning in the NFL.
Yeah.
I think that's where teams mess up. They think, oh, this guy's got a ceiling, but like he won 6 games a year in college. Like, so with Shadur, he does not have off the charts athleticism or skills.
Yeah.
He doesn't. He's above average in most categories, and he lost. I mean, Colorado should have won the Big 12. Like there's some that would say like Colorado like losing 3-4 games is actually an indictment, especially when Travis Hunter's on both sides of the ball. So I think once he walked into those interviews and conducted himself the way he did, refused to meet with certain teams, he wasn't a winner in college, overachieving winner.
Well, look, sacked 94 times, missed 1 game.
You're right. I know. I think he's a great college player, but he's not. He didn't have qualities that were going to get him drafted over all the crap we're hearing about. You know. Anyway, yes, it's within his control. Was my point.
All right. You want to do Mel Kiper now when we get back?
Yeah, let's do Mel Kiper.
All right. Let's talk about Mel Kiper.
Hey, real quick, because our friend Scotty B can open this segment. Kiper was whining like a female.
Scott.
About Shadur Sanders.
Look, Mel Kiper was whining like Mel Kiper, right? But I would have to disagree. I thought that I don't understand why Mel has taken so much heat. I have a hard stance on this. Yeah, I think that
really?
I think Mel was right. I think that Mel was talking about, look, everybody has, this is the thing. This is my thing. Like, now I told you the reason that teams didn't take Shadur, what I thought, right? Because after he falls out of the first round, now it's like, is it worth the trouble? But really, that's NFL organizations not necessarily doing their job, right? And like dealing with that. Like, he's the best player. They are deciding to take other players because the best player is not a bad guy. He's a pain in the ass. He's not going to get in trouble. He's a pain. We don't know that we don't know that he's going to screw the locker room up. We just don't want to deal with it. What are you laughing at?
I so disagree with you about Mel Kiper here.
So Mel was
out of pocket, bro.
Mel was passionate. Mel was like, I don't understand. Everybody I talked to, everybody had this guy high in the draft.
All right, so we're going to play this clip. It's a little lengthy, I'll just tell you, but I think it's important we get the whole context.
I'm not going to – you know what I think is crap? everybody, we've been riding with Mel for 40 years, 45
There's a
years.
lot of people that have thought he's full of crap for a lot longer.
Disagree. I'm not going to jump on Mel now.
Listen, your boy Todd McShay, I think, has proven himself a really good NFL draft analyst.
Yeah.
I think Mel's proven himself a fool pretty often. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to play the clip, and I guess we'll just know up front. Scotty agrees with Reese Davis here. I think Pete agrees with Mel Kiper. And we'll come back and see what everybody thinks. Does that sound good?
Sounds good to me. Yeah.
Can you play the position? This is about, do we want you to play the position for us? That's what this came.
Why wouldn't they, Lou?
Well, look, that's a whole nother discussion that we've had in many different ways for weeks
I would say
and
that
months now.
This is not one of the toughest quarterbacks you've
But Mel, this isn't about this isn't about quarterback traits and quarterback characteristics, personal football character. That's not about this. This is personal.
Has he had an off the field issue? No, he has not.
Mel, you don't have to sell it to me.
No, I don't know what we're talking about here.
You're right. You're right.
Yes.
You're right. But you know what? Mel, the draft has spoken.
That's right. That's the key, Mel. It's not putting a value judgment on whether those who passed were right or wrong. They did.
Yep.
So now, whenever you're in circumstances in life, whether you like them, whether you don't like them, whether they're fair or whether they're unfair, you might have to deal with them.
That's
and
right.
now Shadur Sanders has to deal with
everything.
And for whatever reason, whether he played a minute, microscopic percentage, 0%, or it's a legitimate criticism of the way he conducted himself during the draft process, this was the result.
Yeah.
Now he has an opportunity to answer it. I think yelling at the NFL about it is not.
There's not a quarterback. Boomer Esiason was not happy when he was a second-round pick.
Tom Brady was not happy.
They dropped. How'd they turn out?
And you know what?
My point, nobody's arguing that can happen.
Reese, the NFL has been clueless for 50 years when it comes to evaluating quarterback. Clueless. No idea what they're doing in terms of evaluating quarterback. That's proof. There's proof of that.
How many
times? They say we know exactly what we're talking about with quarterback. They don't.
Nobody's batted 1,000 there, though.
That's correct.
Right? I mean, I think that's
all that matters now is what happens going forward. We talk about it all the time. There is the evaluation phase, there's the evaluation and selection phase, which we're in right now, and then there's the development and implementation phase. That's where we're heading to right now. That's all that matters for him. Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry,
and Lou,
have at it.
Quarterbacks now, and Reese, you know it well as anybody, college kids now get paid. They're professional. They're getting paid. They're commercials. They're out there. You got to deal with that. If you're the NFL, you got to deal with that. Okay? He's saying whatever he's saying behind closed doors. What's he saying? I want to be the guy. I should be this. I should be that. Deion's saying he's the best player in the draft. He's best quarterback, second best to Travis Hunter. Best quarterback. Who is it? What quarterback out there didn't think they should have been a high first-round pick?
Again, nobody's criticizing what happened. We're saying he has to deal with the reality of the result from it.
Correct.
That's all. Okay. 144 Sanders. Everybody wishes him well, as we do.
I don't know. Mel, like his brain kind of broke, so I don't know that we can be responsible for all of that. Folks on Team Mel, like when you short circuit, there's certain things that's like.
Listen, let me tell you why I cannot get behind Mel Kiper on this. I don't think he should be fired.
No, of course.
There's people saying this crap. I just need to clarify. I'm not rooting for the guy to lose his job.
We're too online.
What I'll give you for 40 years, he's an entertaining television personality, okay? Yes. But here's the deal, Pete. He is absolutely off his rocker to make Tom Brady comps for Shadur Sanders. That's stupid. He is off his rocker for suggesting that NFL teams don't know how to evaluate quarterbacks, but he does. You know, this guy's highest grade for a college quarterback ever was Jimmy Clausen. Okay, like he thought Johnny Manziel was going to be a hit in the NFL. Like that's which is why I was off camera, but I'm cackling at Reese Davis, going, nobody's batting 1,000 here.
Well, but in Mel's defense, he's been on the record for 50 years drafting quarterbacks, right? Like. His record is more. You could no. First of all, there's been no GM who's been doing it for as long as Mel. All I'm saying is like Mel's got a pretty.
Okay, but there's a reason
he's got a huge resume you could poke holes at.
But there's a reason Mel works for ESPN and Louis Riddick actually used to work in front offices.
Okay, I can tell you though. Yes, you're probably right. I'd be willing to bet that at one time or another, Mel was offered a job in the front office and he turned it down.
I feel like he would talk about it if that were true.
Or maybe he wouldn't. Maybe Mel's got a lot of class. Everybody loves him.
Listen, I'm sure he's a great guy.
Yeah.
He was off his. I think. And I understand this emotion, by the way. I might feel the same way.
It doesn't make sense. He's basically saying these teams.
I think he was embarrassed that he's never been this wrong.
But so was everybody.
Okay, but nobody else was freaking out about it.
But no, what I mean is, I don't understand that he would get that embarrassed because everybody else. It's not like,
yeah, everybody had him as the first round.
Everybody.
Yeah.
So it's like that's not on Mel. He definitely made it worse. I think that he actually took a gamble and a stand by being so out there on it and being like, really, he was pounding the table, being like, "This doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
but this is insane."
But I agree with Reese and Lewis in that obviously, Mel, we don't know something.
Yeah.
Like 32 teams. It wasn't the Steelers. It wasn't the Saints. It was 32 teams. 4+ times we're like, nope.
Yeah.
and I think that's what like Lewis and Reese are communicating. Like, yes, Mel, we all thought the same thing. And I love that Reese ends it by going, we're all rooting for Shedeur Sanders. Like,
yeah,
hope he does great.
Yeah.
But it's like, obviously, 32 NFL teams, not just one, had an issue. They had something to happen,
By the way, what was our first sign that Shedeur is, for me, this is just a low-key reminder that this is really a super cool kid and to why people in the locker room will like him. And we don't have to get so into this, but the prank call that was made by Jeff Ulbricht.
Horrible.
The DC for the Falcons now.
Yeah.
He was the head coach of the Jets last year. So his son gets a hold of Shedeur's number when he was home for like a weekend. So the son's visiting home from Mississippi. He goes to Ole Miss, sees, I'm sure he probably searched for it. He said he discovered. But he found Shedeur's number on like a top secret iPad that only NFL had, because they needed these phone numbers for draft day. The kid goes back to Ole Miss, makes the prank that everybody knows about at this point. And they asked Shedeur, like, what do you think? How would you want him punt? Shedeur's like, I don't care. He's like, it's boom, let's move on. And right away, to me, that's like, okay. Like, I think that's like, that is who the kid is. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're moving forward. I'm positive. Like, and
I'm good. I just thought Mel Kiper was off his rocker.
He was, but yeah, he was. And now I'm kind of switching to something different. But like, yeah, I think that with all the hullabaloo and the negativity, I think that is who Shedeur is. A guy who's like, I don't want some kid getting in trouble. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
let's go forward. So, all right, we're gonna come back. We got some Bill Belichick. We might even find a way to talk about Mel Kiper again because we're going to talk about the Cowboys draft. But right now we got a break on the Pete Sousa Show presented by Slovacics.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. That's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
I don't know, if Bubble wasn't here, I don't know what people would be doing, like making PowerPoints or something. Bubble allows you to make it real and for it to actually work. So I feel like Bubble bridges that gap and being able to give people the opportunity to make their ideas come to life really quickly too. I love that I can sit down and build something the way that I think it should be built and have the control over it.
Bubble turns ideas into fully scalable apps. Try Bubble today.
Hi, I'm Jo from Face Theory. You're going to want to have a specific goal for your skincare routine. What do you want to achieve? Active ingredients are really strong, and if you're using too many at once, your skin can get overwhelmed. Don't overspend on products. Choose products that have scientific research behind them. At Face Theory, if you're not happy with a product, just say so, just give us a shout and we'll give you your money back, no problem.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Streamline event and appointment booking with Amelia's sleek, modern, and fully customizable booking forms. Tailor the colors, fonts, and design to match your brand and seamlessly integrate with your WordPress website. Whether it's for events or appointments, Amelia makes booking simple, stylish, and perfectly aligned with your business. Enhance your booking experience today at WPAmelia.com. That's WPAMELIA.com. Amelia.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
BadCreditLoans.com is a pioneering service provider that has carved a reputation in the financial industry for its dedication to helping individuals with bad credit secure loans. By making timely repayments, borrowers can gradually repair their credit history, thereby increasing their chances of securing better loan terms in the future. BadCreditLoans.com serves as a beacon of hope for those with bad credit. Simple, fast, and reliable loan application process. And its commitment to responsible borrowing makes it a trusted partner in the journey towards financial stability.
All right, so we're back. Scotty is still kind of like upset with Mel. And Scotty is like, seriously, it's one of those deals where like the segment's over and you think like you could, it's good. We're going to move on. He's like just so egotistical, for him to say that. He knows, right? This is what you said. I didn't.
Generally, I think we talk on the break so I can say things off the record, but apparently not. Zach empathizes with me here. He is egotistical. That's what I'm saying. He does not know more than 32 NFL teams. He does not.
I mean, when you put it that way, he is kind of out of his mind. Like, especially when he said the NFL has been like, what did he say? They've been missing for 50 years or whatever. Like,
the NFL has no idea how to evaluate quarterbacks. But they don't know what they're doing.
He said that, but here's what he meant. I think that's what he said, and I want to defend him and say I think I know what he meant. What he meant was,
they should have taken Jimmy Clausen, number 1 overall.
What he meant was the NFL has been missing on quarterbacks for years.
So has everybody.
I think he meant that too. I really do think he meant that. Like, so he
then it would have been helpful for him to say, I've gotten evaluations wrong too. But
I'm surprised he didn't say that. Like,
because he wasn't thinking about that. He thinks he knows better than all. Okay, we got more topics.
All right. So somebody who you would think would know better too is Bill Belichick. I got to play this. I hope that YouTube doesn't take it down. Look, man, it's undeniable. There's a lot about this clip. It's from CBS Sunday Mornings. The piece aired yesterday. It was Tony DeCopel. It was 8 minutes in total. I went and watched it. Tony DeCopel is a great news guy. He's on CBS Mornings every day, and he's cool too. Like the guy's a cool dude. I can tell. So he goes to do the story on Bill Belichick. He's not like a gotcha journalism type guy, but he goes there, and it's very clear that Bill Belichick's younger girlfriend is like super involved. And, maybe that's what they were going for, underneath it all. But I don't think they were trying to do a hit piece. But this is an example of, like, this situation, Bill Belichick and his girlfriend Jordan, they can't seem to get out of their own way, and there's like a lot of fuel that's added to the fire here. So I just want you to take a look at this. This is Tony DeCopel. This is a quick clip of the piece from yesterday morning. Go ahead, roll it, Scotty.
Change for Belichick is 24-year-old Jordan Hudson, his creative muse, as he writes in his book.
Make sure that that's the.
Jordan was a constant presence during our interview.
You have Jordan right over there. Everybody in the world seems to be following this relationship. They've got an opinion about your private life. It's got nothing to do with them, but they're invested in it. How do you deal with that?
Never been too worried about what everybody else thinks. Just try to do what I feel like is best for me and what's right.
How did you guys meet?
Not talking about this.
No?
No.
It's a topic neither one of them is comfortable commenting on, though Hudson has recently posted about it on Instagram.
You joined InstaFace, as you put it. I love that. There's some great pictures of you and Jordan, where you're a fisherman and she's a mermaid. It's charming. It's a different side of you. What's the reaction been like?
What's it been like?
To have these different sort of photos. There's another one where you're doing, I know you're not into meditation or yoga or Pilates. You're balancing Jordan on your feet and she's doing kind of the Titanic pose.
Yeah, so I'm on some of those social media platforms, but I honestly don't follow them.
Yo, that's crazy. I don't really know how to respond other than like you just watched that with me. So I don't know that we need a response together. But reacting to that, it's Scotty and I had a conversation about, and this was, to have a look. I did PR, right? So let me put that hat on. When you're in a room, you would. And it's in an interview like that, what you would do is you would tell the entity, whether CBS or with Tony DeCopel. So it's a huge deal that Bill Belichick is dating this younger woman. Like, unless you're living on outer space or in outer space, you know that. So, okay, we get it. As Bill Belichick's representation, this might be something you want to ask. Before the interview, we would be like, hey, this is off the table. You know what I mean? Like, we don't want to talk about this. And so if you want to talk about this, then you should probably not come. Because, Jordan will be there. She works with Bill. And that clearly was not something that was brokered prior to, because I read a story this morning that said if CBS could have made it worse. Okay. But you move back to the actual event and the actual piece, like to jump in and say like that, you can't ask that question, like to be the role that she is in, like that's like a really crazy scenario. For that to ever happen is the exact opposite of why you do public relations, which is kind of interesting, that your public relations person is now your story, right? I mean, like that's what it looked like, and I'll go back to when I worked at KWTX, okay? This was an interesting thing, and I never like to be negative with Baylor, but after all the stuff went on with Bryles, there was obviously a lot of Ken Starr is like, that was ugly the way it ended, but he was the president. So he's kind of being ushered out. They had a PR person, the school did. This woman, I think she used to work at Notre Dame, but she was Ken Starr's PR person. So Channel 10 had an interview, Julie Hayes did. So she goes over to the president's office and she's sitting down with Ken Starr. And Julie asked Ken Starr, hey, like, did you see this email? Like, it was an email that you were CC'd on. It was one of the accusations that a Jane Doe was saying she was assaulted by a Baylor football player. And whatever he said, I don't remember exactly, but he answered the question wrong. And her PR person is like, well, let's do that again. And you're going to answer this way, President Starr. And Ken Starr's like, oh, like what? And, Julie's like, keep the cameras rolling. So that was part of that was a huge part of the story. Like when you do that, when you have not agreed on something and you jump in and think you're going to like narrate like something like that ain't happening. So we were talking, Scotty and I, before, and Scotty made the point, hey, you would think she would know not to do that. And I was like, No, you wouldn't, because she's 25 or however, like 24. Like, she just doesn't have the life reps. Like, it's not a knock on her, but like, we're talking about a situation where Coach Belichick is like coming from like where most coaches come from, like just a place where it's like ball. Like, we're not talking about the mental board of health, at least not, not all the time. And like, it's this person that clearly needs the life reps. So you get situations like that, which I've never seen anything like that before. I was, when I saw it, I was like, this is like Saturday Night Live, I really thought that. Any thoughts on it for you, Swingler?
No, you summarized it well. I just said to you, I think her saying we're not talking about that creates way more questions and bad theories than if you have a canned answer, or like you said, you tell the interviewer beforehand, off the table, right? And we've both worked in media. Generally, if you agree to an interview, you have the right to set that term.
Totally.
Like, you can tell the interviewer, you don't ask that question or we don't come. And
I will never understand, me personally, and this is why I do what I do. And I guess we need feisty journalists, people that are going to get in there and say they're not going to ask because the answer to that question is just so important.
Well, and when we're chasing like conspiracies or criminals, that's a different kind of interviewing than
of course
a puff piece on a college football coach.
That's what I'm talking about. If you're 99% of the time, if you talk to me, whether it's here or it's going to be on the payoff of the podcast about sobriety, like, I'm not looking to like.
Yeah.
I invited you. Like, I don't want to like.
You're not an investigative.
No.
Yeah.
But that was a wild interaction, and to read this morning that it could have been way worse. And I haven't really been, Christy was here this weekend. We were hanging out, like, obviously a lot of draft. She's the best. I can say that. But, I'm kind of catching up on the reaction to some other stuff. And that was one of the other things where I was like, my brain doesn't even have time for this. So we'll come back one last, take a quick look at the NBA. The Lakers are down 3-1. I kind of can believe that. And we'll get into that. And then I saw Sinners, and I got my little review on that. It was really cool. The Pete Sousa Show, presented by Slovacics. Back after that.
Did you know nearly all stock price changes of 10% or more result from a single news headline? These news catalysts create trading opportunities every day. All you need is a little help to reach out and take them. It doesn't matter if your investment budget is small or big. All you need is Benzinga Pro and its powerful news alerts, price tracking, and portfolio monitoring. Subscribe now, and we'll skyrocket your portfolio today.
OsleyMD.com. I've always had thin hair my whole life. It breaks off at a certain length. In the last 6 months, I've noticed it just really bad. I mean, you could totally see it. I wear a hat a lot. I tried several different products. My experience with the Bosley MD hair regrowth kit was amazing. It was easy to use. It let me take off my hat. I could go in public and have my picture taken and feel normal again. OsleyMD.com.
Golf Partner, the world's largest golf store network, offers more purchasing opportunities than anywhere else. With a dominant market share and a wider selection of quality secondhand golf clubs than our competitors, we make it easy for you to enjoy the game with affordable, top-quality equipment. Join us at golfpartnerusa.com and discover why we're the trusted choice for golf lovers worldwide. That's GOLFPARTNERUSA.com. Golf Partner.
Since 2003, Bluehost has been empowering people to harness their brands online with innovative web hosting solutions. Trusted by over 2 million users, we're the longest-running WordPress.org recommended host. With Bluehost, you get a safer, better web experience, supported by the world's most popular site builder, and backed by our commitment to open source projects. Visit Bluehost.com today and take your website to the next level.
Experience the future of secure private cloud storage with Internix. Protect your files with end-to-end encryption, ensuring your data stays private and accessible only to you. Enjoy seamless, fast storage without compromising security. Visit internxt.com today and take control of your digital life. That's INTERNXT.com today.
Apollo Neuro is a new kind of wearable that helps your body recover from stress. It's like a wearable hug for your nervous system that helps you calm down and feel better. The Apollo wearable will send gentle vibrations to your body, like a song you can feel instead of hear. You feel better, you sleep better, and you can get back to being yourself. Learn more at apolloneuro.com.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com. Elevate your experience with Grenco Science, the leaders in cutting-edge vaporizers. Whether you're at home or on the go, our sleek, powerful devices deliver smooth, consistent hits every time. Quality you can trust, innovation you can feel. Grenco Science. Take your vapor game to the next level. Visit us at GrencoScience.com.
It all began with a simple idea, cutting handles off old ski sticks to create better pull-up bars. This sparked the creation of the revolutionary Angles 90 handles. After testing over 70 prototypes with 300 athletes, our patented handles were launched in 2018. We continue to push the boundaries of strength training. Join us in making your training more natural and effective. Visit Angles90.com to learn more and revolutionize your workout.
Yeah, text line. Christy says that our commercials are too loud. Well, I don't know who know. I mean,
talk to the people that cut the commercials. Then, sorry, Christy. I don't cut the commercials for this show. So I've cut other commercials.
Textual healing from Christy coming in from Flower Mound.
I actually have a technical explanation for this, but I don't think it's helpful. So.
All right, let's talk about. This is what we want to talk about. Baylor guys.
Yeah.
So Garmin Randolph is well on his way to becoming Baylor's best linebacker in history.
You are acting so weird about this Garmin Randolph.
Look, I like Garmin Randolph. Go ahead. So let's take a look.
So we just wanted to real quick recap. No Baylor players drafted this past week, and second year in a row that's happened. I would be way more concerned if I didn't think like 6 Baylor guys were going to get drafted next year.
Yeah.
But here's who has signed.
What a graphic, by the way. Unbelievable.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So the Raiders.
Yes.
We heard our boy Trevin Maai a couple weeks ago say that's where he would like to end up.
Went to Bishop Gorman in Vegas. Great fit for him.
He's back home. I think he's got a really good chance to make that roster.
Yeah.
Matt Jones also going to the Raiders. Also,
good luck getting Matt Jones out of camp. Good luck.
Also, he has not signed, but I have seen multiple reports that the Raiders also offered Snacks.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why he hasn't signed yet. Don't ask me to explain anything Snacks thinks or does. But
talking about
Lorando Snacks Johnson has been offered by the Raiders as well. Garmin Randolph going to the Chargers, as you mentioned, and then a trio of Baylor receivers. Hal Presley with the Bills, Monterey Baldwin with the Dolphins, and Ketron Jackson with the Ravens. I put some names up there that I do expect to get some attention who have not yet signed. Campbell Barrington, I'd be surprised if he's not in a camp soon. Gary Bohannon.
Let's go, Gary.
I hope he gets a shot. Gavin Byers, Snacks Johnson, and Steve Linton, who was the one guy a lot of people thought would get drafted, has still not signed. And I have no intel behind why or who might be interested in him. But I would expect most of those guys to get into a camp here in the next couple days. So
I got to start looking at the Chargers depth chart to figure out how Garmin's going to.
So if I had to predict, and of course I hope every single one of these guys makes a roster. I hope they all do. I'm rooting for the Bears. I think both Jones and Maai have a shot. I mean, with the Raiders, those are guys Pete Carroll's going to like. I mean, those are Pete Carroll kind of player. High character, high motor.
Yeah.
You know, I think Sorry, I don't think Garmin Randolph has a shot. We'll keep
Really?
arguing about this. And then honestly, like out of the receivers, if Monterey can prove himself, I think as a return guy as well.
Yeah.
If he can return some punts and look good at that, I think Monterey's just athletic enough in that offense with that team to have a real shot. So and we'll see how these guys pan out. Any other thoughts on that?
No, I think you do a great job handicapping it. I like to joke around that Garmin is like this future NFL All-Pro, but he's the first guy off the bus. And sometimes those guys are my favorite for whatever reason. I was a big overhyped outside linebacker defensive end back in my day, probably a little too focused on how I looked.
Yeah, but you weren't 6'8", so.
No, I wasn't. But he's got I was whatever.
Good kid, rooting for him.
Yeah.
Really, sincerely.
Yeah, he's a great guy. But all right, so the NBA, the Lakers are now down to their last game against the Timberwolves. I'd be lying to you if I told you I watched every game this weekend. I didn't, but I do find it interesting that they don't have any big guys, and so you can't necessarily be like shocked that they're not having a ton of success. The stats that I saw that as a basketball guy kind of blew my mind is the Lakers played 5 guys the entire second half, their starters. And that's a tough proposition with LeBron and Luka. And you know, it was funny, and nobody was really going on like piggybacking off of it, but like I was reading stuff this morning and watching some clips, and people were saying that Luka was exhausted. Now, it doesn't mean he's out of shape. Scotty's pissed. But it does speak to the narrative, which I think we got to take narrative out of like our sports dictionary. I am narratives out. I'm all no more narratives for me. All right, the only narrative is to stop using narrative. But I can tell you that it's interesting that the Lakers are missing what they had in AD. But but obviously, come on. I think what I heard was the Lakers almost had the dude from Charlotte, the big guy, and when he didn't pass his physical and the trade dissolved, I was listening to Windhorse today, and he said at that point in time that was a sign that the Lakers really did believe they were a season away with Luka. And so they weren't willing to like throw the kitchen sink at it. But that being said, how many more years you got with LeBron, right?
4.
Okay. How many more effective years?
4.
Okay.
I'm a stan. We know this. Like I think LeBron's going to play till he's 45 and probably average 20-plus points till he's 45.
4 more trips to Germany or wherever he goes to gas
Whatever
up.
he does, it works, man.
Yeah, no, it does.
It's not LeBron and Luka's fault they don't have depth.
No.
You know who they need? You know who they need to trade for is Yves Missi.
Okay, but doesn't it blow your mind, really? I mean, like that you have. I mean, look.
What?
You got 2 of the best basketball players of all time on your team.
Yep.
And you can't make it out of the first round of the playoffs. Riddle me that.
It's a team sport.
All right.
How far did Michael get before they had a team?
He really was all by himself. He had Pippen, I guess, come on.
And I'm sorry, but like I know there's been a lot of Austin Reeves love lately. If he's your number 3 and there's nothing behind him, that's not a very deep team.
Well, maybe that's like a hot take, but it is kind of like, All right, so let's get to Sinners.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you saw it. So I reviewed Sinners last week, and now you're on.
Let me tell you the story first. So when I get tickets, Christy's with me. She hates horror, but I talk her into it. Really, she just shows her
When we hung out Saturday, I kind of had to hype her up for it a little bit.
She did not want to go. She even put earbuds in.
Yeah.
For like, to make sure that, it wasn't overwhelmed. Fine. Okay. I was like, people saw me probably with her and she had earbuds and they're probably like, oh, there's the guy, the Sousa guy. Like, I guess his fiance doesn't like him too much. He's got earbuds in all night. So we sit down and because I can go to the bathroom as I get into the latter stages, I always try to keep myself clear on the aisle so I can go to the bathroom. So I got us on the aisle, but it was too far. The seat sucked. I sat down. I was like, oh, man, this is bad. So I'm like, let's go. I'm like, Chrissy, let's go sit in the middle. Come on. But it's like 7. The movie started at 7. This is like probably during the previews, right? This was a bad idea. So
then you were in somebody's seats.
But I commandeer it, right? I'm like, come on, let's go. Nobody's going to be sitting over there. So we move over, and lo and behold, like people are like streaming in, right? So every time somebody comes in and they slow down by your aisle, even I'm like, oh boy, they're gonna these, and she's like shitting bricks. So finally, as like we get moved in, like we were never exactly in someone's seat, but the walls were closing in, and I hit the panic button. I'm like, come on, we gotta go back to our old seats, and we went back to our old seats. But like, it's not like, you know, everybody was on time. All right, the movie in itself was amazing. I wish we had a little more time, but I just want to get my quick hits in on this. Okay?
No, let's go.
Michael B. Jordan, I literally could not get enough. I couldn't get enough of, you know, I thought it was brilliant the way they started the movie off, and you saw the two of them on screen together. So it was kind of like, to me, that was like, okay, you're going to get used to this fast because they're going to be on screen together a lot. You know, these two twins, Michael B. Jordan plays. The writing and the, like, I don't even want to say cinematography because that's like out of my league, but just like the way that the dialogue held up. I could have just watched that for 2 hours. Like,
yeah.
I'm not the kind of guy, like, you could have turned that movie into like a murder mystery plot, and I'm there for the whole thing. Like, you know, like that's just me. Like, I think now, and I don't, this is the only thing I'll say kind of negative, and this is like to get off my lawn. As an older person, I don't think we need to, well, it's almost like to get a good movie like that made, you've got to have something, like the back end of it with the vampires, like, that's like the zombie apocalypse at the end. Spoiler alert, like, but it's crazy, right?
No, my review is non-spoiler, but we'll go ahead and talk about the vampire apocalypse at the end.
But there's like like something that you could never happen on Earth. You know what I mean? Like, it's very.
Are you sure?
Oh boy, I hope not. How about that? I hope not. But I thought it was amazing. I was like, man, it's funny. This picture had everything. I didn't even need it to go there to the next level with all like kind of like the supernatural stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was awesome.
It's so well made.
It's so well made, and thank you to telling me to stay through the credits.
So I was gonna ask. I don't spoil it.
I won't say anything.
The twist in the credits.
It's amazing. The movie is amazing.
It elevates the movie to me even more.
My significant other walked in under protest because she didn't want to be scared, and she left not being able to talk about how amazing it was.
Really? Okay, good, because Bear the Truth asked.
Yeah.
Christy, was it worth it? I want your take because I'm not a horror guy.
She says it was.
And Scotty B says I'm not into horror movies either. So Christy thought it was good.
Yeah, she did.
Sounds like y'all should go see it.
Yeah,
also.
you all should go see it. It was amazing.
I'm seeing a movie tonight.
What?
Guess.
The Accountant 2? I heard you
No.
talking to Zach about it.
No, we've got 3 more days of Revenge of the Sith in theaters.
Oh, really?
For the 20th anniversary, yes, sir. So I saw it in theaters when I was 12. I'm going back tonight in my 30s, and I can't wait.
So Revenge of the Sith, it was good.
You never seen it?
No, I don't do.
I do. I'm a huge Star Wars nerd.
I do the first 3 Star Wars.
I'm a huge Star Wars nerd.
I'm
Bear
good.
the Truth says hell yeah though to me seeing Revenge of the Sith. So.
All right. We'll be back tomorrow, and we'll get a little. Maybe we'll get a little Revenge of the Sith review. But we have plenty more.
Movie's
coming.
been out a long time. There's a lot of reviews.
the Pete Sousa Show, presented by Slovakics. We'll see you tomorrow.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me, and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
Sports.
We are Rogue Media Sports.